bounce.
Bro, dude was like,
Oh my God.
Dude was
one person that I knew for sure was next level.
Yeah.
His name is Devin Booker.
his name was Devin Booker. Yeah, dude had 22 out of 32. Out of their 32, bro, no one could guard this man. I had the other coach in my ear saying, he's traveling. I said, no, he's nasty. He's no, he's nasty. That's what
wrong.
You're wrong. Yeah.
That's probably the best part.
We'll just kind of go in what you're talking about.
Yeah. Hold on, do we look swole on camera?
Always.
Just got done with a little pump.
I'm gonna be honest. The whole reason I started lifting again is because last intent I saw, I was like, damn, I look like a.
Facts. You can't be.
How's it going, guys? We got another Talkin With Intent today. Sitting now with Reggie and Brennan. Y'all just go ahead and introduce yourselves.
I'm Brendan Hardy, right-handed pitcher, reliever with the New York Mets.
My name is Regi Grace. I'm a right-handed pitcher in the Minnesota Twins organization from Madison, Mississippi.
Oh yeah, from Gulfport, 228.
Let's see. I don't want this to sound like self-centered a little bit, but I wish kids had the opportunity to meet more people like myself and those that I hang around. You know what I mean? Like guys that are more so willing and want to like see the younger generation like actually thrive and like get better. Because there is something very satisfying about like being able to help somebody out, like whether not even if that's like in athletics, but like on and off the field, like just being able to be like that outlet that if you have any questions, like I feel good answering a question for a kid, even though I'm still learning myself. Like if I can help you like take a half a step, like that's big to me. You know what I'm saying?
Getting out of the way of kind of like, I see this with a lot of, honestly I see it with a lot of coaches of like, it's almost like this selfish pride thing of like, I'm not gonna like, you can't be better than me. It's like, no, you like the younger generation should be better.
Yeah, or it's like, I've already been where you've been, I don't have time for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, because I always think back when I used to go to like minor league games when I was a kid, those guys were him. You know what I'm saying? And now that I'm in the minors, I'm like, he's not him. You know what I mean? He's not him. But you know, we're thriving to do that. But you know, that's why I just have a different perspective, knowing that like, we're as small as like that signature after a game that the kid really wants, even though there's thousands of them. You know, like I was one of those 1,000 kids. So like I feel like it's only my duty that like if I wanted it when I was smaller, like why not be able to provide it since I'm somewhat in that.
With that too, also teaching a lesson too, because nowadays I'm sure you get it a lot. Ball. Not even can I have. It's just ball.
It's just ball.
Like
ball.
number one, politeness. Start with a question,
Start
with a question.
Politeness. I had a dude throw a sabato at me this year. A shoe,
Yeah.
A shoe. Wanted the ball. I said. He said, yeah. He said ball. I said, no, sir. He said, ball. I ignored him. Ball. And he threw the shoe, bro, while someone was warming up. And then he wanted to cry because we didn't give the shoe back.
How old was this kid?
7.
That makes it worse.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm not your parents. I don't spoil you here. But as far as like even to piggyback off of that, right? So on the coast, we had a couple of guys make it to pro ball, but like there wasn't really anybody who was there to give back and to actually like guide the youth and push us in the right direction from just off of the knowledge that they knew back then. So now that we have actually studied the game, studied the way that the game is going now, and just utilizing all the information, the ins and outs that we see every day, day in, day out, and we're all in different organizations. So we see the way that different people play and the way that different people think. So being able to come back and like take that and pour it into the youth, it's honestly very satisfying, because right now I do lessons on the coast on Mondays, and those kids, they are literally just like sponges. They see it, and because they can see it, they know that it's actually
and that's the reason, like this is kind of going off the topic a little bit, that the West Coast is a lot more valuable in terms of like amateurs, like under 18 before you get to like college or pro ball, that they're so much better. It's just because they have that much more experience on the West Coast that's giving back. You know what I mean? So like those guys are around ex-big leaguers or whatever. They reside in LA or like whatever. Like they're all over there in California just teaching these kids.
It's that
but
image too, right?
It's the image. So but like guys from like Mississippi, East Coast, like when they're fortunate enough to do that, they kind of up and route. Not that that's a very selfish thing. Like, people have to keep advancing their careers, but the youth kind of
jumpstarts that.
It almost like it's a disadvantage to them. Because you're like losing people that are actually going to teach you what it takes to get to that next level.
It's also like that same, like that image of like knowing that like there is somebody that like started where you were at and could get to this point, and it's not like environment. It's just if you put the work in, you can get there.
Exactly,
100%.
And that's what Reggie
especially like with the
about.
amount of talent there is on the East Coast. Like if you just compare like
East Coast, Mississippi.
Well, Mississippi, but like if you just to the Southeast, if you just take the raw athleticism there is in the Southeast, it's uncomparable throughout the whole country. You know what I'm saying? Like every kid plays every single sport all year long. And that's a positive and a negative. You know what I mean? Because they're really good, but when they're 21 years old, now their bodies are breaking down because it's like he's been Himothy since
even that, but even those dudes that can handle it, they get burnt out on it.
It gets burnt out.
I mean, like, and that's where talking back into parents and like call it the helicopter parents of the sport. Like, it works sometimes, but man, I'll tell you what, most of the times you see that. I know we've all been around it. Those parents that are just like, no, you got to do this. Get to about the age of 18, they can finally make a decision for themselves. I'm not doing this anymore. Like,
it's almost like you got to give like the kid a little bit of quote unquote freedom. In terms of like until you're 15, just go play.
Exactly.
Like play whatever you want as long as you want. Like your love for whatever you're trying to do, even if it's outside of sports, will come to the cream of the crop. Whether that's you're going to be very academic, very athletic. Like time will tell. But you just can't force something when the kid's 8, unless you have those prodigies. Don't get me wrong, but
I mean, like at that point, it's just all fun and game.
It's all fun and game.
And it's just pure love for the sport. So before they get employed, don't make it a job for them.
Yeah, exactly. Before they get employed, don't make it a job.
That might be the best way to put that. Until you get paid for it, it ain't a job. It's a game.
Exactly.
To touch on that a little bit. So, like talking about wanting more guidance as a kid. How did you guys, growing up where you grew up, how did you guys see that? Like, how did you visualize yourself there? Or like, when did you start visualizing yourself as a high level athlete? Like, when did that mindset kind of switch in for you guys, or was it always there?
I mean, I can speak personally. My goal was just always to play D1, and I was kind of a late bloomer whenever it comes to MLB draft stock and all that. But it didn't become a reality for me until I had finally signed my senior year. I had signed to Jones, but I knew that I could go D1 if I wanted to. So I had turned down a couple offers there. But whenever pro teams started coming to me, I was like, oh crap, like I could actually skip a few steps. And that was a real eye-opener for me. And just seeing guys like DeMarcus Evans, my freshman year, I was like, I want to be like him. Because I knew that's leaguer. What it looks like. Exactly. He's a big leaguer, and now he's a big leaguer. And then seeing guys like Bobby Bradley, too.
He's from the coast. His stick.
And it's just like, dude, those guys were different, but I knew that was still attainable. Like that skill set.
It was a mindset that was different. It wasn't a physicality.
Exactly. And then once your mind was there, the physicality starts coming to fruition.
It's almost like a mental block. And I'm not saying there's genetics. Like start there. There's absolutely good genetics. People are more preset to be a better athlete than others. I get that. But like there's like I call it like a threshold of like call it 60th percentile of athleticism. If you're 60th percentile or above, in my opinion, I think that you really do have potential to jump up, but it's this.
Exactly.
Now, like that 90th percentile could be like insanely athletic, but they don't have this and they're also capped. So it's one of those things.
I mean, I guess for me, like, and the question was like, when did you kind of see yourself there? Like, in the God honest truth, I probably wouldn't say until like my junior, like probably the first end of my senior year. Like, like I was someone I committed to Mississippi State in like my junior year. Like that was cool and all, but like you gotta think of it like this. Like whatever happens in your life, you don't ever feel like that's extraordinary because there's always something else more that you want. You know what I'm saying? There's always another level. So like I always hung out with the guys like JT Ginn or like Joe Gray. Like these guys were like top 50 picks, like supposed to be top 50 picks. So it's like if I'm not a top 50 pick, like I'm not doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that's just kind of how you feel about it. So like until I got to actually like pro ball and I was 18 and the other guys were 25, 26, that's when it set in. It's like, oh, okay, I'm here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like now it's time to work.
Exactly.
And like everything I've done in the past, like it probably doesn't matter anymore. Like this is a new life. You know what I'm saying? Like,
It's like this is ground zero.
This is ground zero now.
Kind of what you were talking about. I actually, I didn't even know I had a chance until JUCO. So like back in high school, I was like, okay, I have a chance for Division I. I was kind of, everybody uses velocity because it's the easiest way to say like, hey, am I good enough to get here or not? Obviously, there's other variables. We won't get into that. But at the time I was in high school, junior, throwing 85. I was like, okay, I got a chance to get in Division I. Like that's kind of like that bar I set for myself. And then I took the path that I needed to that would allow me to get there, which was JUCO. And then I remember the first pro day I ever had is when I hit 90 for the first time. And I remember walking home after that, so like, you know, had the meeting at the end, and like the coach is sitting there with all like the envelopes with the questionnaires and stuff. And I'm telling myself, I'm like, all right, don't be upset, because I didn't know how hard I threw it. I was like, well, I probably got like 87. That's probably good. So I'm like, don't be upset if they don't give you one. And then they I got like 3 or 4 of them, and I was like, oh my god, like I got a chance doing this. Okay,
exactly.
All right. And then mindset kind of changes from there, and. Yeah, it's almost like you have it, and then when you get the confirmation, it's almost like that extra boost. It's like, okay, like this is something I can do. Kind of like that, yeah.
Exactly. But then like how Reggie said, transitioning into pro ball, it's like, what was your realization whenever you first got there? Because mine was...
I 100% know what mine was.
Yeah, mine was like, holy crap, I feel like a little kid around a whole bunch of grown men, but also at the same time, like my dad has already been through pro ball, so like he could guide me through it, and he would just speak to my mindset mostly, and he was just like, you got to remember, everybody's there for a reason.
Yeah.
So once you start growing and you start learning, then you'll start growing into that grown man that you're walking into, and you're like, oh crap. That guy's a dude, and it's like, no.
Yeah, see me,
you're the dude.
I didn't really see that, because like when I first got there, 18 years old, the second day I was there, I saw an 18-year-old sit 95, 97 for 4 innings.
Who was that?
Pre-Landon Burrell. He just got added to the Mariners 40-man roster. Yeah, I saw him sit that for 5 innings and act like it was nothing. Right.
And then you're sitting there like, why am I here?
I was 90 to 91. If I hit a 2, I was off rocks. I was off rocks, right? And so I was like, we got work to do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that was my realization. I was like, we're not in high school anymore.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Because, like, 90, 92 in high school, you were like, oh, he's cheesy.
Yeah.
No, sir.
90, 92.
Pre-Lander, like, Burrell was getting loose at 4s.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting here watching this, and I'm like, wow. We're not in Mississippi no more, boys.
Yeah,
We're not in Mississippi no more.
I just remember my first spring training. My first spring training, I was so overwhelmed with everything, because you got all the AAA guys that have been there for probably 2 to 3 years. You're also getting to see, you know, big leaguers come over on the 7 mounds and throw bullpens.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I watched Nola throw a pin, I was like, I'm screwed. Like I can't do that. I don't know what I'm gonna do, man, because that looked pretty good, and I don't know if I can do that. That one. I also listened to all of the big leaguers that like would come back and speak with you, and I'm not sure if you guys heard this too, but like the one thing that I heard from every single one of them is like there's no physical difference between minor leaguers and big leaguers. Yeah, there's outliers. There's guys that can just roll out of bed and throw 100. But the one thing that separates those two groups is the mind. So like at that time, I was aware of the fact that I wasn't where they were, and I was like, okay, well the only thing I can do is focus on my mind. So like, okay, what do I have to do to get to the next level, and then the next level, and then the next level, instead of saying, what do I have to do to get here? And that kind of helped me out a little bit.
Exactly. So Rome wasn't built in a day. You gotta go brick by brick. Oh yeah, that's another thing though, is like you see how we are now, and kids come in and they're like, man, how do you do this? How do you do that? And it's like,
we ain't done nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I mean, like, we haven't done anything, but if you think about us compared to the masses, like we're doing a lot different stuff than like but it's time. But like, what did you do with that time?
Yeah, not just rolling in, just kind of going about it. It's like, what's your focus today? Even when you roll out of bed and you're like, because man, we all get it. Like, I probably did it this morning. I don't want to wake up. I want to go back to sleep.
Exactly.
Have to force yourself out of bed and do something. And if you do that, like, just start small. One small little thing leads into 3 different things, which leads into 4. Run one building a day. Same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So instead of just thinking about the end result it's all about process.
The process,
and that's
if you
one
like
thing
the
that
process.
you actually taught me.
Yeah.
Like coming in to
Enjoying
last year,
it.
because
Enjoying it,
my job was absolutely on the line.
Yeah.
Coming
I feel
off
that because Brennan, when he came in last year, he was like, every day, like, I think it was more so we were still like around this point here.
Yeah.
He was like, bro, why aren't we doing bullpens yet, bro? Like, I want to do this. And I was just like, bro, like, you just got to trust it. Like, it's all going
Facts.
to click, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, Reggie did tell me. He was, like, hey man, look.
Because I don't feel it yet.
Like,
I don't feel it yet.
He's like, build.
Yeah.
Just focus on what you got today. Because, I mean, bro, I get very result oriented a lot. And I mean, like, it's just something that I had to grow out of. But one thing that you told me, how it's like, all right, today we're focused on knee drive. All right, cool. Don't care about the arm. You just got to focus on knee drive. Once you get that ironed out, okay, then we move on.
Yeah.
But
man, to touch on that, that's where I messed up in my career too. Is back in 19, I rolled out. I told you all this story. I rolled out. Obviously, I've never been like a crazy yard thrower. 89 to 93 range in there, but I could command it, I could spin it, I could do everything else with it. Show up and double A my first outing, and I'm 84 to 87. So what do? Panic button.
exactly.
Like, I know I got a chance 89, 93, right? I get it.
Yeah.
But then you're 84, 87. It's like you got to be perfect to do that. Not even perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
And I remember, man, instead of, if I could go back to that time, what I would do is I would find that one thing. What I did is I overanalyzed myself. I sat down, I watched video, I was like, that's an issue, that's an issue, that's an issue, that's an issue. And then instead of just being like, let me focus on this, I was like, fix all of them. And when when you're trying to fix everything that's that messed up, like there's nowhere to start. So like I'm just looking at the whole issue right here, and I'm like, here's a broken puzzle. Where do I start? I guess I'll just jump into it and see if I can figure it out, and then it's just a spiral from there.
Yeah.
But yeah, singling out that one thing, being able to isolate something, get better at that one thing, and then progress from there. Watching that, making sure it doesn't go back. That's definitely the best way to go about changing, in my opinion.
For sure.